This video is going to be something different, but it's something that has been on my mind recently, working on Total Pokemon Island series. So I had to do this closure. This video is about the YouTuber from way back when, NickiNor2, and his series, which was ultimately unfinished, Total Pokémon Action. As you don't know, NickiNor2, I don't know him, but I used to watch the channel, and he was the person that I watched with TBI, and then that inspired me to make my own. So here we are, my own. However, NickiNor2, one day in, I believe, 2012, 2013, just suddenly disappeared. Stopped making videos and never came back, leaving this series unfinished. And if you're wondering what this picture is, this is the titular abandoned film lot location where his series, unfinished Total Pokémon Action series, takes place at. It is in the background of so many episodes. So, this is an overview of sorts. An overview where I kinda look back on the series. What happened in it? An overview of the series where I look back at it. Kinda give you a little recap of the events, and try to predict how the rest of it would have went and how it would have ended, and hopefully figure some stuff out and bring some closure to this for myself and for any others who were fans of his videos back in the day. Just so finally in peace with this. And, hopefully that'll make things go a little better with my guys. This is his Total Pokemon Action series was a sequel, follow-up season to his Total Pokemon Island series, and featured characters from the original cast plus some new people competing. And to start off our overview, first episode ultimately ended up being nothing too interesting, with newcomer Shuckle winning and becoming a team captain. And then in episode 2, Chairman Claydol got eliminated for being very annoying and people not liking them after the events of the previous season. Also, if you do that, my cat is right next to the microphone and scratching herself. Hi. And looking. If you hear the sounds of what sounds like an old man eating a bowl of chili, that's a cat licking herself. Anyway. Cherim and Claydol got eliminated for being annoying. And then Tyranitar, Lucario also became team captains, causing the team to split into a three-way tie. And then in episode 3, Tyranitar's team lost, and they voted off Corsola because she was too weak. She kicked off this whole thing about Skarmory wanting to protect Corsola, blah blah. Episode 4, Onyx was voted out for being a pervert. Nothing really important plot-wise happens here. Mudkip was voted out for throwing for her team in order to try and get Tailo out, so she could be with Trico. She wanted to get rid of all of Trico's friends and his current girlfriend so she could be the only one for him, and yeah, he voted out for being crazy. Wigglytuff was a filler character. She got out there. Bagon, yeah. My cat is knocking shit over now. Okay. I'm a professional, by the way. If you didn't know that, I'm a professional. Vagon got eliminated for being dumb. That's pretty much it. He was stupid. And also very mean. And it was either him or Camerupt who was trying to stand up for Vagon. Ditto got eliminated because he couldn't transform into the right thing and it's useless. Also, the filler elimination character. Victory Bell. Started off this arc that I kind of liked. This Pinsir. Because Pinsir's Onyx and Victory Bell were Pinsir's friends. And after both of them got eliminated, he needed to find new friends. Because he was all alone. And so he goes and becomes friends with Blissey and ultimately her boyfriend for a bit. And gets involved with her alliance with Bayleaf, Credility, and Vileplume. Which is like my favorite dynamic of the whole season. They are so funny. And it's kind of what kicks all that off. They are the best. Relicanth in episode 10, the Superhero Challenge. Got eliminated because he was a filler elimination character. He literally could not speak. He just went. That's how he spoke. So, and then in episode 11, this is the start of an arc that was never finished because the series was never finished. Dragonair voted out her own mother before Survivor players made it cool. And this started a thing where Espeon and Licky started not just disowned her for voting her out, even though they were purposefully ignoring Dragonair. Espeon deserved this. Dragonair deserved better than what she got. Oh my god. Poor Dragon. It gets worse. Don't worry. Episode 12, Pidgeot. Pidgeot was funny. He was a daredevil. He broke everything. Got eliminated. I remember Kingdra going further than this, but episode 13, Kingdra was eliminated because she was trying to get with Tyranitar, and he's been dating Palava. Well, they've been on and off so far this whole season, but they've been dating since the finale of the previous season. And Kingdra just can't stop and wants to compete with Tyranitar and try to kill Typhlosion. Gyarados got voted up for being an ass. Pikachu. We're gonna come back to Pikachu, but Pikachu was part as Pichu. And he was brothers with another Pichu that was spiky ear named Peachy. And they made a pact to not evolve until they were both ready. And he started crushing on Swablu and evolved, which got Peachy angry. And so he voted himself off to make amends for breaking the promise. And as for Peachy, I'll come back to that later because this is also something that never got fully resolved. Episode 16, a couple episodes back, Glaceon was an ice spirit who haunted Celio, who was Lanter's boyfriend. And she got Lantern eliminated just because she didn't like Lantern and wanted to be with Celio herself. But Lantern couldn't stay in the living world anymore because of the events of that episode and got sent back to the spirit world. So they both got out there. Miss Magius sabotaged her own team. This is where things get interesting. It's around this point, like past episode 15, where the humor in the series started getting really funny. Like, these episodes are hilarious. Growlithe was pretty funny. He left voting himself off. He quit because he had an outburst. Didn't like things. And started another plot where he revealed that Crobat was sabotaging his own team. And nobody was doing anything about it or cared. And Crobat kept getting way further than he should have because of it. So 19, Licky Licky. Dragonair voted out her own father because he was stupid. Episode 20, Shuppet. Crobat sabotaged his own team to get Shuppet out. And then episode 21, this is where things get interesting because this is where the plots... This episode starts some stuff. First off, Shuckle, all season, being ignored. Turns out to be Groudon, who was cursed to be a Shuckle so he would be ignored because he was an asshole. And Venusaur broke Shuckle's curse by being an ass to Shuckle. And freeing him as Groudon. Now then. In the next episode, ignore that. I'm not gonna fix that, just ignore that. The next episode, Groudon got eliminated. Because he ruined everything for his team. It honestly feels like Groudon. Yeah. There's something you'll notice here. There's going to be these next episodes, when we get to the 20s, the pacing gets kinda weird. Because we have a bunch of plots set up. A bunch of plots that were set up in like the first 10 episodes are starting to wrap up. And a bunch of plots were getting set up during the mid-teens to episode 20. And then with Groudon getting eliminated, we get Pinsir eliminated, which is the end of his arc with Chansey, where he reveals that he was actually using her to get over his fears, and breaks up with her. I was rooting for Pinsir to win on this rewatch before I made this. Like, I forgot he got eliminated. Poor guy. Then, Croconaw. Now, the thing with this season is that there are 50 contestants total throughout the whole thing. So as you imagine, it is very long and bloated. And there are a lot of characters who probably really shouldn't have been there in the first place because of how long the series ended up being. And Croconaw is one of these characters. He literally has done nothing. He spent this entire season doing nothing, maybe getting one line every other episode for comedic relief effect. And then he kind of had some outbursts in the previous episode, but that was just a setup for him being eliminated in this episode because Crobat sabotaged his own team. But it's yeah. The thing I mentioned about the plots earlier, the plots kind of stop here because we had new ones set up. We had Groudon, which was cleared up. And then we had, let me go back. Yeah, we had Groudon, I don't remember. And then we have this, with Tyranitar going, with every Total Drama fan's favorite words, a love triangle. Tyranitar dating Quilava. And earlier on, Lucario was established to have had a crush on Quilava for a while, but didn't go for her because of Tyranitar. being together with her. But also, Dragonair has a crush on Lucario. Because Tyranitar and Typhlosion settle their differences from the mid-season and finally become a true couple, Lucario decides to stop pursuing Quilava and go for Dragonair. But Dragonair is very jealous and tries to kill Quilava just because Lucario is good friends with Typhlosion. Not Quilava, Typhlosion. She's a Typhlosion now. And that results in Dragonair sabotaging her own team, essentially. And somehow Tyranitar gets eliminated after all of that. And now Dragonair and Typhlosion are fighting. And then got Bastiodon in episode 26. Why was he eliminated? He wasn't relevant to the plot. Literally, after, for the past, almost 10 episodes, Bastiodon, Farfetch'd, and Rhydon did almost nothing and never had lines. There was even a joke in one of these episodes where at the elimination ceremony they're like, hey, my first line of the episode! Because they just weren't doing anything. So they finally get to do something just to be eliminated because they're still here, but they're not relevant to the plot anymore. And then episode 27. We got Skarmory, who had his whole plot with Corsola at the beginning, and seemed like the protagonist of the season, getting eliminated. Rather, he was disqualified because he fucked up the challenge in such a horrible way that it ruined everything. Which leaves us here with our final elimination before the series was abruptly ended. My cat's about to jump. Hi. Ampharos. Ampharos got eliminated because of Dragonair and Typhlosion's fight. And she isn't very well liked, being one of the main villains of the first season. There are some plots. Before we continue, there are some plots that I... Well, actually, no, wait. Yes, let's continue. So with those eliminations, this is the status the teams were left in before... Well, when the series ended. Porygon Z team and Vileplume's team after the team restructure in episode 21. So, the thing here, there are some plots that I didn't go over because they weren't too important to elimination before. Vileplume is psychotic, she's crazy, and she has an alter ego named Betty, who is her but worse and evil, without any self-control. And that was set up. It was hinted at in the early season, and then there was a setup with Betty actually coming into being for a couple of episodes before Vileplume got to control. But that ultimately never went anywhere because the series ended on episode 28. And then Ampharos. Mamoswine, he's been in this season so far. Ampharos is tied to Mamoswine because he kind of had nothing going on. He was comedic relief. He had this arc where he thought he was... Mamoswine thought he was pregnant. And then it built up to him evolving from a Piloswine into Mamoswine. And then Ampharos. Part of her villain arc in the first season was obtaining the Rock of Power to become all-powerful. And she found the Rock of Power again and tried to use it to gain power. but Mama Swine ate it. But Mama Swine has a crush on Ampharos, so she starts fake dating him in order to try and get the rocket power out of him. This is really stupid. Like, it makes a lot of sense, and it's really funny in the actual scene. And she got eliminated with nothing ever coming of that, so Mamoswine still has the rocket power inside of him, and has unlimited power and is invincible because of it. But nobody other than Ampharos knows about the rocket power and that it is inside of him currently. And I don't think that's actually going to end up leading to anything. So that brings us to our plots. Typhlosion and Dragonair fighting. They're fighting. They have a love triangle. They are ruining their team's friendship. And in the last episode, Porygon, Z, and his alliance with Lucario, Swellow, Mamoswine, Flygon, Grovyle, Honchkrow split up into two. Because of this, their team is kind of in shambles, and that's also partly what resulted in Ampharos getting eliminated, and almost resulted in Typhlosion going instead of her. So their team is kind of screwed over right now. Now, Vileplume's team. Vileplume is in an alliance with Cradily, Blissey, and Meganium. Honestly, they're doing fine. They are perfect. But in that last episode, Vileplume set up a secret side alliance with Celio, Haunter, and Crobat. But her main reason for doing so is that she wants to get all of the troublemakers on her team together into one spot so they can just vote them off for the next time they lose. And the thing is, after Lantern's elimination, Celio kind of went crazier than he already is, and has been wanting to go home and purposefully lose so he would be eliminated. Rhydon and Farfetch'd, their alliance has been falling apart. They're just trying to collect themselves. That leaves Altaria and Pikachu. Just kind of vibing. See, Pikachu got voted off. Peachy and Altaria's plot kind of slammed to an abrupt halt. They've been doing almost nothing aside from this side moment where Flygon had a crush on Altaria, but they fucked it over in one episode and everything worked out fine even though they didn't get together. But like, these two haven't really been doing anything. So what happens next? Given all this shit that is set up, all this rambling that I've been doing, honestly, we're in an interesting spot. The team that has been Porygon's team together for a long time, and they're in shambles. That Vileplume got that team. You can tell who the better team is because Vileplume's team is funnier. They are all very entertaining. So now with that out of the way, and all this rambling, all that setup, all that, it's time to get to the main event. Me trying to predict what would have happened next and make sense out of this, to try and figure out how this season would have ended and give some sort of closure to myself and hopefully others who were fans of the series as a child. So first off, I'm not gonna do specific placements. I'm just kind of gonna go individual, but also sometimes groups of characters that I think would be going next. And to start us off, Typhlosion. I said I wasn't going to do this in an exact order, but I do think Typhlosion or Dragonair would probably be the next to go. And given that Lucario and Porygon Z's fight, splitting their alliance, was over whether or not they should eliminate Dragonair, and Typhlosion has been on the chopping block for a while now, plus being a finalist from the previous season, I think it's safe to say she's going next time they lose. If not her, then probably Camerupt, but anyway. On top of that, Dragonair's also probably going to go. In fact, given the slowish pacing of the series, I think it would kind of work better if they both went in a double elimination. But I'm pretty sure they're both going before the merge at this point. They were in the Final Four from the previous season. Typhlosion was a finalist. It's obvious that they're both reaching the end of their time on this season. Next up is Rhydon. I don't think Rhydon would make the merge. He probably could. Rhydon and Farfetch'd are kind of interchangeable, honestly, and I'm taking Rhydon out here because Rhydon is actually a guest star from one of NickiNor2's friends, Mischievous525, and his Total Pokémon Island series. So Rhydon was a guest character. And he's... I doubt he's going to win because Rampardos, one of the characters from the first season of NickiNor2's Total Pokémon Island, was a guest on Mischievous525's Total Pokémon World Tour. And while he did make it far in that season, he did not win that season. So I think a similar treatment is going to happen for Rhydon here. Or was intended to happen. Speaking of... So the Troublemaker Alliance, obviously, one of them, Crobat, Haunter, and Celio. The people who have been sabotaging their teams. Celio doing it to get eliminated because he wants to be reunited with Lantern. And Haunter and Crobat just because they're assholes. I think Celio would be the next to go. Because Haunter and Crobat are actual villains. And we'd kind of have no plot if we got rid of all the actual, proper villains before the merge. And now this next one. Peachy. I actually think Peachy, that whole arc with Pikachu breaking the promise, and the way Peachy reacted to it, I'm pretty sure that was setting Peachy up for a villain arc, and Peachy would probably be, if that's the case, I think Peachy was going to be the last pre-merge boot, or the first merge boot of the season. And there is some evidence from this because he has an opening for the series, and in the animation, and the latter half of it, there are clips from actual episodes of the season used for the opening. And 3 of those clips ended up, and while those were in the opening, there are 3 clips in that montage of clips from the season that never got used in an episode, at least not one that aired. One of Vileplume with a bunch of guns and some sort of sci-fi movie set shooting them, which there isn't a lot of information to be gained there. And then also, not a lot of information to be gained. The second clip is Mamoswine falling onto Raichu. But the more important one and the last one is Togekiss and Peachy fighting each other. Uh, there is a thing where Peachy and Togekiss were training for like a brief segment of one episode, but honestly, I'm pretty sure Peachy was supposed to be set up for a villain arc. As for some cleanup before we go into what I think the merge would look like, Camerupt. Here's the thing about Camerupt. If you watch the series, you would know. Camerupt had some important role being Bagon's caretaker for the first 8 episodes until Bagon got eliminated. And then she, like, never spoke until episode 25, 26. She never spoke until episode 26 and was barely in any episode, even as a background character, where she finally joined an alliance with Tyranitar and Typhlosion and Dragonair. And you know how all that turned out. And she ended up... She's filler. She's the most obvious filler character. She should not have made it this far. Everybody's been wanting her out since early on in the game. She almost got out over Bagon. So, it makes sense that she'd go. Which means, I think this is probably what our merge cast would be looking like. I could be wrong, but this is most likely what it is going to be. I'd say we merge around 16, 15, 16. It makes sense after 50 games. Honestly, if Peachy wasn't eliminated by now, I would think that Crobat or Haunter would have been eliminated and Peachy would be here instead. So who do I think would go next? Well, I think a good merge boot would probably be one of our villains. Crobat or Haunter. They've been here for so long, sabotaging their own teams, and at this point, they aren't really going to be trying in challenges either. They're not going to be able to do much for themselves. So I think one of them would probably be the first merge boot. It makes the most sense. And the other will probably coast for a few more rounds before getting eliminated themselves. Next up is Mamoswine. Comedic relief character. Filler elimination. He lasted a while, and without Ampharos, his plot really doesn't have anything else to do. He really doesn't have anything. He's just there, and I don't think the Rocket Power is going to come into play again. And if it does, I don't know how or why, but it'll probably result in him getting eliminated anyway. Alright. Next one is Blissey. Blissey, after Pinsir's elimination, kind of stopped having much relevance, other than the fact that she's in Vileplume's alliance. And with the merge happening, I think alliances are definitely going to be shuffling around. And Blissey hasn't been really doing much, and I don't think she would be doing much still. So it makes sense that she would also be an early merge boot. Lucario. Lucario and Porygon are fighting at this point. This is going to be like the turning point with these two. And it's going to be, are you on Lucario's side or Porygon's side? And that's going to determine how things go from here. And I think Lucario is going to be the one to go. So, he made it far in the previous season. I mean, he could go far again, but also they're kind of be stale, and also I have more reasons for keeping him over, keeping Porygon-Z over him, which I'll get to later. Grovyle, Honchkrow, and Swellow. Grovyle hasn't really been doing much, and around episode 20, he hasn't been doing a whole lot. Same with Swellow, who hasn't been doing much at all, period. Honchkrow's kind of been there, but also Final Four last season. And they're more closer to Lucario than the rest of these characters here, other than Flygon. And I'm pretty sure they would just all go at some sort of fashion. And then our next group, Meganium. Meganium is my favorite character in this cast, but I'm gonna put my bias aside because I'm pretty sure she's not going to win. She's just kinda... She's been a comedic relief character, and a real good one. But I'm pretty sure it's just gonna be like a perch challenge or something to get rid of her. And now we've got our final 6 here. But also, something that I need to mention before we continue on. If you look in the comments of the last video that NickiNor2 ever uploaded, people will talk about some stuff about why it wasn't finished and all that. And I don't have any sources for this, but a lot of different people are saying the same thing. Apparently, one of NickiNor2's friends, in a video that was deleted, spoiled the elimination order for the season and who the finalists were. On top of that, there was like a video on Mysterious 525's channel. It got deleted, but then Mysterious 525's channel got terminated. So even if the video wasn't deleted, it wouldn't matter because the video's gone anyway. And that the important thing that people keep mentioning, who the final 2 were. And with our final 6 here, I'm just going to say right now, one of the finalists that I think is going to happen is Credilli. And according to those comments, the final 2 of this season finalists were Credilli and Skarmory, who was disqualified in episode 27. Now then, like in Total Drama Action, there is an aftermath in this Total Pokemon series. And in it, I don't remember how many episodes it was before each aftermath episode. But after Skarmory's elimination, we were due for another aftermath episode pretty soon following it. In fact, I think about it, I believe the very next episode. If not, it was going to be after episode 30. And if the final 2 is Credilli and Skarmory, that means that after some event in that episode, Skarmory would have some reason to be brought back into the competition. I don't think he would, if he really was a finalist, I don't think we'd skip him that many episodes ahead. Otherwise, it would not feel that deserved. So he's either going to be brought back after that aftermath episode, or like at the merge, at the latest. So Skarmory returns. But now then, the other 6. I already said Credilli's who I thought was going to be a finalist, but between these other 6, yeah, the Farfetch / Rhydon, I'm pretty sure is gone. Haunter, last guy from the villain team, again, only made it that far because he's useless. And Altaria had her connection with the Peachy plot, and was a likable character. I could see her going far, but also she hasn't done a whole lot herself, so it would make sense if she got eliminated earlier. Leaves us with our final four of Vileplume, Porygon Z, Cradily, Skarmory. And now why this final four? After everything that I went on about with the Lucario versus Porygon Z thing, and then Vileplume is there, I'm pretty sure Porygon Z was being built up to be the main villain of the season. And if not him, or rather, if not him, but also main villain shared with Vileplume / her alter ego of Betty. I'm pretty sure those two were supposed to be the main villains of this season. If that's the case, then they are the. Then it would make sense for them to go to like final 5-ish, since the main villain of the first season didn't make final 3. But you'd want to keep villains far, and it makes sense for them to be the last obstacles for our winners to overcome, if they were the main villains. That's why how we ended up here. Then the finale of Skarmory versus Cradily. Also, if we're going to be basing off these things, I want to say, if Skarmory wasn't going to be a finalist, and those comments are not real, I think Farfetch'd would be the other finalist, which is why I chose his portrait over Rhydon's. I feel like Farfetch'd and Cradily would have been the final two if Skarmory does not return. Even though Farfetch'd hasn't done a whole lot himself yet, he's been the most active of his team throughout the entire season of his alliance. So it just... he could pull something through towards the end, kind of like what Beth did in Total Action. Now, there's comments saying that Skarmory and Cradily is the finale. Also said that this season would be decided by a vote for the winner. Don't know if it was like the viewers would vote or the characters in the universe would vote. But that's where we are. With that out of the way, in my predictions on what would happen and who would win, there is one more thing we need to answer, and that is, what the fuck happened? Why did he stop uploading? And if you look at the comments, especially in the last 3 episodes that were uploaded, since they were uploaded around the same time, there are a lot of different sources and claims, some of them being Google Plus integration with YouTube and him not liking it, and YouTube copyright claimed his stuff, and he had to make a deal to keep his channel up by never posting again. But honestly, don't think it's any of those. And while the copyright one is one of the more common explanations, I don't think that's true. Because, first off, YouTube's not going to hold something like that. Okay. It's kind of stupid. If it was a copyright issue, he could just remove the copyrighted music that he used in this series, and then re-upload them on one of his many different channels. Or make a new channel, and re-upload everything there, or continue the series there. And just make a little announcement post on one of his other channels that wasn't copyright striked. So, that could... It's obvious that it's not a copyright issue that caused the series to be cancelled. Said, I just simply think that simplest answer is the right one here. That you just got bored. He was tired of the series and moved on. And honestly, kind of feel that, like, in episode 24 and onward, kind of, you listen to his voice and, like, really pay attention to it. In earlier episodes, he had a lot of energy and fun kind of doing things. And around episode 24 and onward, it sounded like he just kind of lost energy and interest in things. So I think it's just the reason he stopped uploading was just a simple matter of he got burned out. And then he never decided to come back and finish it. He just moved on with his life. Probably forgot about it. Which kind of sucks, especially without giving us any like warning or explanation on his own channels. Kind of explain what's up. And I do understand why. He really was tired of doing it and just wanted to stop. That's perfectly fine. Really wish he would have like, left something to let us know that, hey, I want to stop. If not forever, at least for now. So look. Case, I hope he's doing well. Well, I hope he's doing well regardless, but if he's still out there and somehow sees this, if he's so many people would love to see you come back if you ever feel interested in it. Like, don't know how else to explain it. This was good, and you want to finish it. No one would complain. I'll have to finish it myself. I'm not going to. No. I'll write fan fiction about it. People probably have. But yeah, that's kind of that's it. That's this whole thing. Just kind of wanted to ramble on about this whole series because it was what started me on wanting to make my own Total Pokemon. I feel like this is a necessary thing to talk about, since it's the motivation. Just feel better talking about this, and hopefully other people can see this that were fans of the series and get something out of this. I don't know. Knowing that you'll always be welcome back to YouTube. It still has fans. I will watch that series to completion if you ever go. Anyways, I don't know how to end this, so beep it up.